All right, so I'm going to start it right off and just say this is a different episode than what you may be used to. I'm not in my normal place. I'm holding a food tray on my lap and a mic inside of that food tray. I'm talking into this, delivering delicious little bits of speculation and discussion coming your way. E3 is here as we know it. Nintendo's presentation hasn't happened yet, and so this is our opportunity to just break the conventions of the show and bring you a little bit of what we think is going to happen on the E3 Direct, specifically with Super Smash Bros., the roster additions and the roster cuts. But I'm not alone in this venture. I did say we a couple sentences back, after all. Joined on my right is my twin brother, player 2 since the womb, Matthew Cottrell. Say hi so they know your voice. Don't do that thing that guy does. Don't do that.
Guy?
Yeah, I know.
I hate IGN's the bane of my existence now. So what am I doing? Hi, hello there.
No, but talk
name's
as
Matt.
your normal voice so that people know.
Hello.
You might remember him from episode 1 of Nintendo
From
Nightly.
that little snippet alone.
The 4XM mods. We're coming together to talk about Smash, and across from me, shirtless, is Trevor Butler.
Wow. Nice shout out. I appreciate it.
Why are you putting the sexy voice on?
It's not my
Trevor,
sexy
Trevor
voice.
just has a sexy voice.
I'm just chilling right now.
He's just
chilling.
chilling.
I wish you would have introduced me as player 3 since 03. That would have been tight.
Oh,
but
yeah.
it's cool.
We've known each other longer than that.
I know. Not
No,
really.
we haven't, actually.
No,
03?
03?
Like 03, 04, something like that. It's really
Turns
like
out
04,
02,
but
03.
player 4 since 04. There's no player 3. Player 3
Yeah.
kind of like abandoned
You always
us.
were player 4, though, actually.
Yeah, I was, but player 3 ain't here no more. It kind of be weird to go from player 2
Well,
to
you know
player
what's
4.
weird is that David was player 2 most of the time. Because you had that yellow one.
I did rock the yellow.
Anyways.
But that's besides the
onto-
point.
That's beside the
Something
point.
you might
We've been
actually
friends
care
for a very
about.
long time, since like middle school and 7th grade. We've been playing Smash pretty much since then. It's been the glue that's held our friendship together. Not really, but doesn't that sound cool?
Yeah,
From playing at my mom's place all summer to discovering advanced techniques together, implementing them. My boy Trevor over here wave dashing with Luigi. You know, I learned some of the techs with Pikachu. I'd creamed the competition. You know,
It's pretty tight. I can't
Matthew-
flex. You inspire me.
Matthew's okay at the game. He's not great.
Okay.
We're as far as like gauging a skill level and such, I'd say we're pretty high in the casual ranks. Like I don't think I could win a tournament regionally, but I could win one locally. So that's exactly how casual or competitive that we are. But we like Smash, you know, in different ways. We were just playing the Subspace Emissary. That's one of my favorite parts of the Smash legacy. But anyway, we're here to talk about the roster. So I guess how do we do this, gentlemen? How do we do this? Do you guys want to?
I just think we should jump right in.
Jump right in.
predictions.
But are we gonna go one pick from you, one pick from me, one pick from Trevor, or are we just doing?
Or we don't even have to do specifically roster predictions. It could just be game predictions in general, like things we think are going to happen with the game. But I like it being more so centered around roster predictions.
Let's talk roster first. Yeah.
Okay.
So give me just give me your and just to lay the foundation here. Where we're coming from is one popularity, one viability, and the
Did you say one twice? One popularity and one viability.
we're figuring character popularity, Nintendo's ownership or relationship with the company that owns them, as well as how well they would fit into the game.
So no like SpongeBob or Goku or
Shrek.
or Trevor, get that Hulk and that stupid stuff out of here,
my
man.
God,
Because
yo,
you'll never
listen,
be back on the show.
Listen. I think anything is possible.
Shut up.
After Cloud Strife got in Smash 4, anything is possible. I'm just saying.
Yeah, I'm personally rooting for Steve Jobs. Like he'd have
Trevor's
a very creative
Nintendo
moveset.
Nightly career began on June 9th, 2018 and ended on June 9th, 2018.
Yo, it's been real though. It's been mad real.
Listen, sexy voice. Anyways.
Oh my god.
So,
Yo,
even though he just said it. Oh my gosh.
anyway. No, like that's real. Who wants to start it off though?
Go
I
ahead,
think
Matthew.
I'll go
You're-
first.
Okay, go
Matthew's
for
been
it.
thinking about this the longest.
Give it.
Well, because there's
He's
characters.
a cutthroat with a K. Look out.
Well, there's characters that I've wanted, and really, I think a lot of Smash fans have wanted for quite some time. That a lot of people thought a couple of these guys had a serious chance of getting in having. The first guy I definitely go with is King K. Rool, only because I feel, well, he's probably my favorite guy that isn't already included, but I also feel like he has the best chance, being that he's, incredibly popular. I didn't realize not only is he the most popular here in the States, but apparently in Japan, he's among the most requested, if not the most requested. So I think he has a legitimate shot. I think about, if you look at the Mii costume in Smash 4, him being included, and I'm sorry, like for anybody who doesn't remember, they had a bunch of whatever Mii costumes, and then he was just the most random. And I really think that was a testament to understanding that, like, he was really heavily requested on the Smash ballot, and that was Sakurai's kind of nod to, like, hey, I'm acknowledging that, albeit in a very upsetting way that upset a lot of people, but nonetheless, acknowledging the popularity of the character. I think he has a great chance just because of that. I know he hasn't been relevant in such a long time, and Sakurai doesn't seem to ever care about Donkey Kong as a whole, which is really disappointing for someone like me who loves the franchise. But I just think just sheer popularity alone, and especially the popularity over in Japan, since he only seems to truly care about that market. But I also think he would just be such a unique character. There's no size constraint like everybody says with Ridley, like he's too big. That's not the case with K. Rool. And then I just feel like he can deliver such a unique moveset that, all in all, I just think he'd be a great choice. That's who I'm definitely predicting. I don't know that he'll be an E3 reveal. But that's, definitely my number one prediction. Also, just from the standpoint of there's not really that many great first-party Nintendo choices to choose from, or guys that are I think would be better than him. But with that, I'll toss it over to whoever wants to jump in.
Yeah, well, okay, so let's stay on that for a second. So K. Rool, what's your verdict, Trevor?
For me, as far as for K. Rool, or my prediction for my, well, not prediction.
Let's just talk about K. Rool. What do you think about K. Rool?
I think,
does he fit in your predictions?
I think he fits. I think he deserves it. If I had to say a character deserves or not deserves it, I mean he's been wanted since what, like the first or the second game.
More so since Brawl. I think there's probably some people that wanted him for Melee, but his presence was really known as a highly requested character in Brawl.
Even if it was just Brawl, that's over a decade of people wanting him to be in the game. I think just from that standpoint, the fact that I think fans, their opinion and their voice does matter. I think the fact that he's been a requested character for just that long, I think, if I had to think of anyone who deserves to be in the game from just that, I would think, just based off of merit, I think King K. Rool will be a cool addition. Also, just as far as villains go, too.
Exactly, and that's actually what I was just about to touch on. That's something I forgot. But yeah, there's just not enough villains. Like Smash 4 made a point of emphasis, I feel, to kind of raise the amount of female representation, because that was very lacking before, too. But villainous representation, I mean, that was one of the disappointing things with Subspace Emissary for me. I loved Subspace Emissary, but it was terribly lacking in villains. I mean, because you just have Bowser and Ganondorf. Yeah, and Dedede's not even really a villain. He's like the anti-hero or anti-villain. But, it's sorely lacking in that category. And honestly, I'd like to see more villain battles. My dream scenario would always be like a Bowser versus K. Rool versus Ganondorf versus Ridley. But he's too big, right? But I just would love to see something like that. It'd just be so darn cool. Or even just Bowser versus K. Rool. But anyways, Michael.
Yeah, I kind of feel like they're going to take more of that direction with this one. Just given the tone, and really, like, that's the only wealth of characters that they have left to add to this game would be villainous characters. So I don't know. At the same time, K. Rool is a character that did not originate in Japan. And there's only one of those in the entire 50-something character roster of Super Smash Bros., even counting third parties. So I'm 50-50 on him. I wouldn't even put him on my prediction list for getting in the game. I'd like him to be, but I don't think he's going to get in just for those reasons. I mean, Super Smash Bros. Is incredibly Japanese to the point where, like, they don't even bother translating the dialogue of certain characters like Cloud and some of the Fire Emblem characters. And I just think that, there's a large bias where, like, those people would either not know who K. Rool is or not care to put him in. The developers, not necessarily the fans.
Yeah, and I'll say I'm 50-50 on it as well because I've been wanting him since. I think he should have been a character since Brawl, to be quite honest with you. But it's just one of those things. It's like you said. It seems like Sakurai doesn't really pay attention to characters that aren't of Japanese origin, and also he hasn't seemed to care much about Donkey Kong as a whole. I mean, if you look at DK's representation at Smash, I mean, every level is always pretty much based off of the first stage, and most of the music within said stage is from the first level of a DK game. It doesn't seem like, it's almost like he just took cliff notes on like, this is what you need to know as far as representing Donkey Kong in the universe of Smash. And that's what you're left with. I just think the reason I'm so high on it now is I just feel like, again, sheer popularity and the Smash ballot with creating the Mii costume and even theming the Mii. I mean, the Mii costume was pretty detailed, but it was also themed after the rare design of K. Rool, which I feel like if they were just going to, create a cheap Mii costume just for whatever reason, they probably would have used the newer Payon design, but especially because that one's not as detailed. But I don't know. I feel like that was a legitimate nod to understanding the popularity of the character.
So rattle off your other picks real quick.
So, is that how we want to do it? We don't want to go like one by one.
I don't know. What do you think?
Let's go one by one.
One by one.
Give me one.
Okay. I guess starting from the top, character I think that's going to be getting in, character that I'd like to be getting in. It's Captain Toad, boy. It's Captain Toad, boy.
Really?
It's Captain Toad, boy.
I'm surprised. I thought it was your home skillet.
There's a million other guys I want to get in, but he's the safest bet. He's a Mario character, and we get at least like 2 or 3 of those every game. He is a Toad, which Toads have been requested since Melee. There was even this big rumor that went around at the time that Melee was released that if you hit every credit after Classic Mode, you'd get Toad in. And so there's been, a long hunger for Toad. But the right Toad needed to step up. One that was brave enough. One that had enough adventure experience. One with an actual moveset potential. And so Captain Toad is that one. And so with the with his headlight, with the pickaxe that he gets in the game, he's got a little more potential to do some fun stuff there. The extra points if he's implemented in the game and somehow still can't jump, or he sucks at jumping. That'd be so funny. I don't know how they'd make it work, but I mean, Little Mac works as a character, so like anything is possible. And so I don't know. I'm really looking forward to seeing whatever they do with him. I like him as a character. I'm so glad that he's getting can you call it a sequel on Switch? Halfway sequel. He's getting like 10 new levels.
It's weird because I think Captain Toad's one of the most likely newcomers, but it's weird. The more and more I've been thinking about it, I feel like there's also a legitimate chance that he might not be a character at the same time. I don't know why, but I just feel like that's what it is right there is moveset potential. I just feel like there's not enough of it. There's some interesting things you could do, but then you think about like, like for me, the character doesn't even jump, something you just alluded to. Like, even with the pickaxe, he doesn't do a whole lot other than, walk around.
He pulls vegetables out of the ground.
Yeah, I get that. And I'm sure they could do enough to make it work, and he probably will be in the game. But the more and more I think about it, I don't know why, but I feel like I could easily see him not being in the game at the same time. But
yeah,
I digress.
But I mean, also they could dig into every iteration of Toad in the Mario franchise, and they could probably find a gold mine of stuff for him to do.
Yeah. I think it's either now or never. I think with the whole Captain Toad thing, I think he has more of the sauce than he's ever had before. So, I would, but I didn't know that was how we was doing it. I thought we were going like who we wanted to be in it, but if we talking about who's most likely.
So it's a culmination of the two. It's because for me, like it's not so much just who I really desire. It's also, like Michael was saying, somebody you feel like has a legitimate shot at the same time. Because, I mean, then you get picks like SpongeBob
well, that's,
and Shrek.
But come on.
But I'll say this. We should go around because I think Michael and I, those are kind of like our most likelies. Then we can do like a wild card pick.
Okay.
Yeah,
so start with your most likely
pick. Character you think will get into Smash.
Donald Duck.
You are funny. Yo, that would be lit, though, if Donald got in.
Sure.
Yo, that would be tight, homie, especially if he had that staff and everything from Kingdom Hearts. That would be so lit. That would promote Kingdom Hearts and everything. But no, I think most likely character to get in, I'm gonna be cheap and say Ice Climbers.
Yeah, they're coming back.
Yeah, well, do a newcomer. You know,
A newcomer. Newcomer.
I mean, there's like
I would say Dixie.
Dixie,
Kong.
yeah,
Dixie.
That's a good one.
The DK franchise has gotten the cold shoulder since Melee, and like I feel like in Melee, Diddy Kong should have been in.
Yeah.
In Brawl, they should have added K. Rool or Dixie.
You could make the
and
argument
then in
that
Smash 4, they should have added a fourth character, and now we should be getting a fifth.
And even without that, I think Diddy Kong easily could have been a character since Smash 64. I mean, when you just look at that roster instead of Jigglypuff.
When you make the case, yeah, I think Jigglypuff was a combination of like easy to port and kind of.
I'm sure from a development standpoint, but I'm just saying from a realistic roster. But even Melee to me, that's the one piece is Diddy Kong, and then either DDD or Meta Knight. I think if you had those guys in that game, that roster is incredible. But yeah, I mean, like, here's the thing for me is I think Diddy Kong should have been a character since Melee, but even despite that, I think we should have gotten Diddy and DK in Brawl, and then in Smash 4, you could have had Dixie or you couldn't, but I think we should have at least had 4 DK characters by now. So that's the only thing I'm afraid of is that does that mean K. Rool and Dixie both get in, or is it one or the other? Because
it's probably going to be a one or the other thing because of
But that's the thing is they're two deserving characters that like honestly should have both been in the game by now.
Yeah,
right.
Why not? They put like 5 more Fire Emblem characters in the last game.
Right, but it's more so that DK doesn't seem to get that same treatment. And who knows, maybe now because DK's so, barren when it comes to newcomers that they'll just add 2 or 3 characters in the same game. Now, Dixie probably has the best chance just because not only is she pretty popular and she's from a franchise that's not well represented, but she's also in a game that's relevant. So
yeah, and a female character, there's, not that you can really call Pikachu a girl or a boy, but
true.
bringing some more representation
and a
for
female
like
character from the DK universe. I would say kind of the star female player from the.
Let's not forget Candy Kong.
I mean, okay.
Candy Kong is dead. She died.
Right.
After
I don't even
Donkey
know
Kong
who that is.
won.
And I'm sorry to
K.
not.
Rool K. Rool gunned her down when he came to the island. Yeah, but I mean, like, I don't. Yeah, that's
my
thing.
most likely.
And Donkey
thing,
Kong is if you look at Nintendo's list of most popular franchises, Donkey Kong is up there. Hanging around Zelda and Mario and Pokemon. It's not down in the trenches with something like Fire Emblem, which has only had like 3 games over in the U.S. That's an exaggeration. There's been more than that, but you get my point. Yeah. I mean, Dixie, the moveset potential.
That's what's funny though is that it's funny that when you ask most people of like top 5 who should get in, it almost always contains K. Rool and Dixie. It just shows you how lacking DK's been.
Yeah, and I just hope by some chance there's like one guy in there in their office that's like from Europe or from the US.
Well, they did, and that's the reason I think K. Rool has a shot is they said that the Smash ballot would be used for future reference as well. And there's a part of me that thinks maybe they didn't include him as DLC because they wanted to save him as a character for the new game, which I think is a totally
That's got to be like the only reason
thing.
that the Inklings didn't get in Smash 4 because like to think that they took Bayonetta and Corrin over the Inklings when like Splatoon needed that boost at the time.
Well, and that's what I'm saying is I feel like there's probably characters that were held back because they wanted to use them for a new game and stuff. And let's be honest, like to me, I love Mewtwo, but even just being like a later addition as far as DLC, there's just something that isn't as interesting about that. Same with Ryu, same with Cloud. Like if those guys had been in part of the initial release, but to me, I had gotten to the point with that game where I wasn't really that interested in playing it anymore. It just feels more lackluster. But anyways, on the topic of Dixie Kong, that's a solid pick. I think she probably has one of the most legitimate shots of being a character in the next one. So I guess we can go back around again, unless you had any other thoughts on that. I don't want to cut you off.
No, you cool. You got it.
So let's do a wild card round. Wild card would be like somebody who you think has a legitimate shot, but is also, could
Little out
easily
of left
not
field,
be a character. Yeah. So for me, mine would definitely be Ridley, just because another character, sheer popularity. I think he comes from a franchise that isn't really heavily represented for good reason, though, just because Metroid doesn't really contain
Metroid
any...
is a game about isolation.
Yeah,
so
yeah,
there's
yeah.
not too many characters
Yeah,
in it.
it's completely centered around one character. But despite that, do you know Ridley's been in every single Metroid game except Metroid Prime 2?
He's the main villain, even more so than the Metroids to some
But
degree.
it's just funny because she kills him like every time, and he comes back as, a mechanoid and all these different things, and it's just the consistency. Like, he's the only other constant in Metroid other than the Metroids, And so I think there's something to be said for that. But yeah, I just think he comes from a franchise that it'd be cool to see another new character from, not just, hey, where's my armor? But also, I just think moveset potential, he could be really interesting. The reason he's a wild card is that Sakurai's been pretty adamant and vocal about why he hasn't been included in the game is due to his size. So he's acknowledged the popularity.
Big.
Yeah, too damn big. He just feels like he's too large, and I think the reason he feels that way is it's Ridley's wings. The design of Ridley, with the wingspan and everything like that, that's what kind of throws everything out of proportion. Now,
Charizard has huge wings too.
He does, but he's also a lot smaller than Ridley. It's more so taking Ridley's skinny frame and then adding
it's the proportions that are weird. But I feel like that makes it kind of interesting, where he is more vulnerable as far as his hurt box is concerned from the back than he is from the front.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Oh, and I think there's a lot of interesting things they could do with him. And people have shown examples of him kind of being, when he's in a standing position, being crouched down. Because even in a lot of the Metroid games, you see him kind of perched almost like a pterodactyl or something, kind of like scrunched together, So it's not like because he can be giant, he appears giant all the time. But I feel like they can work it enough, and it seems like with the rumored leak from, what's his name, Daz Vergman or whatever, claiming that Ridley would be an E3 reveal, that leak actually has some legitimacy now. Now take that
guy's
with
gotten some stuff right, but a lot of stuff wrong.
Right, and take that with a huge grain of salt. But it is peculiar that every E3 leak he's mentioned so far has actually come true as of now. So that's pretty interesting. And he claims that Ridley will be an E3 reveal. But like I said, I just think he's a wild card because I think he has every right reason to be in, but Sakurai just feels like by shrinking him down enough, he's no longer Ridley,
Yeah, I would have given his chances like a 0 out of 10 if this was the last game, but I really do feel like they're going to focus on the villains this time. There's going to be a certain intensity that comes with the Super Smash Bros. Because it's really the only place for the series left to go before it becomes like in, all companies, all systems brawl out thing. Like, as far as character potential, that's mostly where it sits, because in the span of 5 years between this Smash and the last one, Nintendo has created a lot of new IP, but still not enough to really like fill a roster out.
Yeah, so that would be my wild card pick, because
what do you think though, Trevor?
It's 50-50.
I see the wild card thing. Of course, I think the whole reason him not being in the game is nothing but excuses. Because I remember playing Mario 64 and Bowser was huge, bro. But he absolutely got into a Smash.
Yeah,
games.
that was always my argument too. Is that I'm like, look at and characters vary in size. I mean, Donkey Kong in his games is not nearly as large as he is in Smash. I mean, you look at the difference between him and Diddy in Smash, and that's nowhere near accurate as far as the actual DK games. They do all sorts of size scaling all the time. Yeah. I will say, as far as providing the counter argument to that, I think all those other size adjustments are much easier done. I think with Ridley, it's just that he, his size and the way he's designed it's really more so the way he's designed, not so much him being big, because you kind of shrink him down, and you shrink him down enough and it starts to look strange. I'm not even going to lie, as somebody who supports his inclusion. But at the same time, I think it is definitely possible, but I think he would definitely be the largest character in the game if he got in.
Yep.
That's okay. I can take that. It's better than Giga Bowser.
All right, wild card.
Better than
wild card. Woo!
For you,
Donkey Kong Jr. Donkey Kong Jr. is my wild card.
So you think he actually has somewhat of a shot? Because I think he has
Yes.
like no shot in hell.
Yeah, because he's retro. They're running out of like retro guys to pull in. I don't think Balloon Fight is going to be a character because he's not really anything outside of a guy with balloons tied to his back. And Donkey Kong Jr., whether he comes in as like a semi-clone or as like a clone of Donkey Kong, he'd be really interesting and not a super difficult character to iterate on. It just has a pleasant little history. Shows a different side of Donkey Kong. I think through Donkey Kong Jr., you can make the Donkey Kong character that Sakurai might have liked to have been able to make all along, which is the classic Donkey Kong. Because we've got really two different Donkey Kongs that have brought us here. The classic arcade Donkey Kong, which was 3 different games, and then we've got the Donkey Kong Jr. games, and then we've got the Donkey Kong Country Donkey Kong, which is one that has survived up until today. And I think there's a wealth of stuff that you could dig into from those old games to really kind of represent, where Donkey Kong was at that different time. All sorts of different callbacks to like the barrels, to the claptraps coming through the vines, to all sorts of cool stuff. To math. Donkey Kong Jr. used to teach us math.
The only thing, man, in my world, I wish everybody's wishes would come true. But if our wishes were to be considered and to come true, the thing that gets me is like, do you really think that they will put in 3 Donkey Kong characters? Somebody's gonna catch the L.
And so that brought me to my question: would he be a Mario representative or a Donkey Kong representative? Because Donkey Kong Jr. has never been associated with the standalone Donkey Kong games. He's only been involved in a game that involves Mario, from what I understand.
Yeah, but that was a different time where like the game was called Donkey Kong. Because like so Mario's first game was a game called Donkey Kong, and then there was a Donkey Kong, 2 and 3, and Donkey Kong, the junior games you would save Donkey Kong from Mario. Mario was the villain.
Isn't Junior DK?
I mean, we're not going to jump into the Donkey Kong lore, but let's just say
there's a lot of interesting stuff like that. Like they say that it's either that DK and then the Donkey Kong that's in the Mario arcade game is Cranky Kong, but then there's some that say that Donkey Kong in the first game died, and then Junior is Cranky Kong, and then they had like another Kong which is Donkey Kong, and I'm like,
who is Mario in all this? Does he not age?
I don't know.
Is he a time wizard?
He's God.
Did he go back in time to kill Donkey Kong, but Junior stopped him?
He went to New Donk City.
That is hilarious.
And that's why I feel like we might be getting a new DK game. Look at all those hints in Odyssey. It's just so random.
But you look at a lot of what New Donk City was, and it was representative of the very first Donkey Kong game, which is something that Nintendo has never really been able to cover in the Smash series outside of the 75M stage. And I feel like they want to play with more of that classic style, and so that's it's a wild card. It's a wild card. It's my wild card.
Yeah, no, I like it. I'm all for it. I always wanted, that would be my Melee dream if they were like clones, whatever. Have like a DK Junior, a clone of DK but small and fast. Like that'd be crazy.
It'd be like young.
You imagine it's like forward air, but it's like a quick attack and like. I think he'd be broken, to be honest, because DK, if he was faster and smaller.
No, yeah, just like Trevor said, it'd be like it'd be a Link Youngling thing where like DK Jr. would have a tough time.
Broken is exaggerating, by the way. I was just kidding.
He'd have a tough time getting the KO. Yeah, I don't think you could be broken without having like. I mean, granted, all the best characters are the quick and nimble ones.
They'd probably clone him with also not having a shield cover his full body, just
to
spite DK.
Just a smaller shield for scale.
Hilarious, bro.
Yeah. What's your wild card, Trevor?
My wild card.
Wild card,
y'all
bro.
already know, man.
Sora?
I would go. Banjo. Banjo Kazooie. I think that would be just so dope. That's my wild card because
I was about to be my next category, which was going to be Pipe Dream, which is no shot in hell.
Oh, really? That's another category.
So here, he was going to be mine. That's what the next category is going to be.
Well, I'm still.
No, but wild card. I think.
Here's why he's a wild card. I think here's why he has a chance in hell, and this may be a ridiculous chance in hell. I think the fact that the public has like come out and say, "Hey, yo, Phil Spencer with Xbox. Would you be down for Banjo being in the game? The fact that people are talking about him being a character in that game and him like, yep, I'm down. Like people are like watching, looking at like Smash Bros. Like, all right, y'all gonna put Banjo in the game? Like that's why I think he actually has a small but still a shot.
The only thing that's got me with him though is that Microsoft just had their E3 press conference as we're having this prediction video, right?
Yep.
Apparently, there's some anniversary of Banjo-Kazooie, and they literally did nothing for it. So I feel like Microsoft does not care. They've had that IP for almost 20 years now, but I just think that is telling of like, sure, they'd be in it for like, royalties if, use my character and just pay us something for it, but you can tell they don't even care. Like, he's pretty non-existent to them. So if he's non-existent to them, he's probably non-existent to Nintendo. And then we get to the whole, he's a Western character. He's not Japanese. I think that mixed with being a third party who's not relevant, I think is like...
That's more of my falling out with him, is that the whole, like, being a Western character thing. As far as his ability to appear in the game, him being a Microsoft-owned property... a little more likely than you might think, or a little more easy to pull off. Like when Banjo was first acquired by Microsoft, he was still allowed to appear in portable Nintendo games, and there was actually a Banjo-Kazooie game for portable games, as well as Banjo showing up in the remake of Diddy Kong Racing. And so Microsoft doesn't have too much of a problem with Banjo appearing on other platforms. This would be quote unquote a direct competitor, but at the same time a great marketing tool for Microsoft.
But would Sakurai want to include Banjo-Kazooie?
That's where I feel like the wall is.
Yeah,
and that's just purely based on Banjo who.
And it's disappointing because Banjo-Kazooie would actually be a great character. I remember he was a really wanted character for Melee because that's back when, Rare hadn't been bought out by Microsoft yet. And so it was just a Nintendo thing.
So why didn't he get in?
What do you think?
He's not Japanese.
No, exactly. I mean, but he would be a great character as far as potential.
The funny part is like when we get the game and then we see the reveal and it's ukulele instead of Banjo-Kazooie.
Oh, God.
No.
I would laugh so hard.
Yeah, I would laugh, but talk about no shot in hell.
Like
that's like no shot in this
would be
dimension.
Hilarious, bro. You got the ugly cousin of Banjo-Kazooie to be in the game.
They announce it with that dumb rap song they came up with. It's time to make a really sad song about how we took your money and made an average game.
I'm gonna let you have that.
Well, so do we have any other thoughts on Banjo-Kazooie, or should we move on to Pipe Dream? Pipe Dream. No, Pipe Dream. No, it's Pipe Dream is squawk, quack, quack, or what's the pipe noise? I can't do
both
it.
Of those. It's
neither.
Both of those.
So
Pipe Dream. Okay.
Yeah, so Pipe Dream for me would probably... Well, I don't know if this is totally a Pipe Dream anymore, but I think it is just based on the director. Or we don't even know if Sakurai's actually confirmed to be the director, do we?
We just know
he's involved in the project. We don't know how.
But if anybody was working with him, they would totally fold under the pressure of like, if he's like, no, I think these guys should be in, they'd totally be like, yeah, you're right. Or I feel like anyways. Because it's like his baby.
I don't know. There's been enough roster backlash this time that the likes of which we've never seen before.
Yeah. Well, so mine would probably be, and it would be a third party as well. Crash Bandicoot, I think, is a Pipe Dream.
Bandicoot,
because I think there's always the off chance. I mean, Crash Bandicoot's suddenly relevant again. He's suddenly really popular again. I mean, especially in the UK, man. That Insane Trilogy, I mean, I kept seeing that in the top charts, in the top 5 for literally, like, it felt like months. I mean, I was really pleasantly surprised with how popular a hit that game's been. And the great thing now is that it's being ported over to the Nintendo Switch, so I think that also helps in his favor. But he's a Western character. He hasn't been relevant a long time outside of this. Plus, he's a third party, which I just don't know that... plus, I also think he doesn't really have the biggest pool of potential for a moveset because all he really does is spin. He also slides and belly flops.
Yeah,
and
but I mean, I don't know. He's got
enough.
opposable limbs. So
they could do enough.
they made a full moveset with the chubby star guys from Super Mario Galaxy.
Yeah.
Like if you look close enough, they do separate moves for everything Rosalina
but that's
does.
what I feel like they're missing from a third party. Like imagine if they had, you have a 4-player battle. You have Mario, Crash, Sonic, and then you fill in the fourth with Pac-Man. I think those are like the main staples of, because people forget Crash Bandicoot was PlayStation's mascot. I mean, that was their Mario. People forget how big a deal he was, but that's why I always wanted to see like a Mario, Sonic, and Crash. I just think all those guys belong together. And then possibly a guy like Rayman. Rayman's another guy. Although, Rayman I go back and forth with on because he had a trophy in Smash Wii U that looked great. It almost feels like he was intended to be a character at one point in time until Ubisoft, screwed the pooch. But yeah, Crash would probably be my pipe dream because I'd love to have him in, but I don't think he has any shot. Except, again, pipe dream. He has a 2% chance maybe. What would yours be? Or unless you guys have any thoughts on that, what would yours be, Michael?
As far as Crash Bandicoot goes, I think there's not too much that's separating it. However, we speak to the relevance of just the lack of him being a Western character. Just that whole thing.
Which I hope people don't think we're harping on that point too much, but it is a legitimate thing. Literally, Diddy Kong, unless we're mistaken, is the only character that isn't of Japanese origin.
Yeah, I understand that a lot of them haven't been made outside of Japan because of the nature of where Nintendo's corporate base is, but at the same time, like, you see that there's all these opportunities in Donkey Kong and there's just no representation. Not to mention just with the characters that are in Donkey Kong, but any sort of item representation or assist trophy, just absolutely nothing. The only thing that you get from Donkey Kong besides the characters is the banana. Oh wait, that's the banana peel from Super Mario Kart.
Yeah, they couldn't even take a banana peel from DK.
Yeah.
Although they took the arrow barrel in Melee, that was an item. You remember you
that
throw
sure
the barrel
was.
and then
it was a good
you
item.
Can shoot. Yeah, it's a good
but they
item.
got rid of it because it's a Donkey Kong item.
And really, you could have kept that. I mean, just keep that one item from DK. And honestly, it's a good item because sometimes you get it and you launch yourself off the edge. But anyways, who's your pipe dream, Michael?
Well, I didn't know this category was coming. All my picks are
I already know one that would be yours.
Who's that?
Shovel Knight.
Yeah,
Shovel Knight's not a pipe dream.
He's totally a pipe dream.
He's not a pipe dream.
He's totally. I think he has somewhat of a shot, but overall, I mean, just from the standpoint we talked about, also the fact that he's an indie character. Are there any indie characters in Smash?
Yeah, but you know the great thing about indie characters? Shovel Knight can appear in whatever, and all you have to ask is like 2 guys.
It's not the point, though. I'm saying, do you honestly feel like he is like a shoo-in? And I like Shovel Knight too, but I don't think he has
not a shoo-in, but I feel like he's got a very legitimate shot. I mean, we're talking about the first non-Nintendo character to get an amiibo.
Yeah, I don't know that.
Not only one amiibo, but like
but
4
who commissioned?
amiibo.
Did Nintendo commission for that, or did Yacht Club commission?
Nintendo
that?
had to approve it every step of the way. I mean, Yacht Club is the one who sort of manufactures and produces it, but they have to work with Nintendo to get the amiibo technology working inside of the figure and to sell it and distribute it. And it sits in the amiibo section. It's not like it sits in some other
from
section.
The standpoint of talking about, for one, he's third party, and 2, he's a Western character. I mean, and yeah, I don't know that, because then you can make the same argument and say Shantae has a chance, and I don't think she has any legitimate shot either.
I mean, so
I just think there's so many other third-party characters that he would choose from, even with the rumors about bringing Snake back and Simon Belmont being a character. I just think you're already talking, and if the rumor no cuts thing is true, then you're already talking, I mean, how many third-party characters? At what point does it become...
Now, if you're talking about Japanese
Games
companies...
All-Stars instead of Super Smash Bros.
If you're talking about Japanese companies that have a really close relationship with Nintendo, then, like, I don't know, we could talk about some other guys that might be more fitting for that, but the other thing about Shovel Knight is he's an indie game, yes, but that's why he's important. Nintendo is really trying to rally behind Nintendo Switch as being the indie platform. So much so that they have separate Nintendo Directs just to get into the details, get in the weeds on like what indie games are coming out. And I feel like Shovel Knight is really just what we think about when we think indie game, because it's one of those, you know, success stories. It's like one of the 3 Kickstarters that didn't just take all your money and deliver a garbage game out at the end of it. And I think that their previous relationship with Nintendo, how they were there for the Wii U and the 3DS, you know, in the darkest days. I think the just the credence to, like, when the rumor was going around that Shovel Knight was in the game in Smash 4, how believable that was. I don't know. I feel like
I think he'd be a cool character, and I would think I would actually like him in. I just don't think. I mean, I think that could still fall under Pipe Dream, because I think. Crash, I think, could have a legitimate shot too. I just don't think he'll actually be in the game, and I feel the same way about Shovel Knight. I think
steal that shovel, boy.
I think he would
steal thy shovel.
I think he would make sense, but I don't see it happening.
Oh, just the moveset though, that down air.
It's not saying
connect into the
man. We said the same thing about Banjo Kazooie. Like
digging things up.
You could do that with Kazooie. There's so much you could do with Banjo Kazooie. That's beside the point.
Oh, no, I just think it's everything else that we talked about. You know, the his prevalence as an indie character, him being like the centerpiece of indie platforms, him being a character who's gotten an amiibo before, and like tie-ins with Nintendo. I think that's it.
I think people think Minecraft Steve has a better shot than him right now. Apparently, he's like a popular choice.
Yeah, that's crazy.
But I don't know. I mean, I'd like to have Shovel Knight in. He's awesome. Yeah. I loved seeing him in 3D and Ukulele. It's like the highlight of that game.
Yep.
But I guess that could be your pipe dream, right?
Sure, if you want to call it that.
For him, it's a validation.
I think he's getting in. I think he's in.
Oh, man, you sound like me with K. Rool and Ridley, like the last game. No, it just makes all sense in the world. I think he's in.
I guess we'll find out in a day.
I think when you really like a character, it becomes even more believable to you. At least it is to me. But anyways, pipe dream, Trevor, what you got?
Pipe dream, y'all gonna be like, what? Samurai Goro, F-Zero.
I don't know that it's weird because there's a lot of people that have this mindset that franchises need to be evenly represented. And so people look at a game, like I hear all the time that like F-Zero needs another rep because it only has one character. And I've kind of been of that mindset in the past, but then also I look at, do some franchises really deserve another character? But honestly, I think F-Zero is kind of on the border because I think it would help make the franchise more relevant again, and people have been clamoring for an F-Zero game for years. And I also think he's probably the most logical choice. I mean, the Black Bull character would be a good choice as well, but I think Goro makes more sense. Plus, he's a sword character. You know, they seem to love those.
I hate to say it, but sword character, Japanese. Come on, guys. Come on.
Hey, man, Samurai Goro is where he belongs in that little assist trophy.
Can I have my pipe dream? Can I have mine?
That
over there with Waluigi?
Hey, man, that's more than DK got, so we can't say that he has no idea. I mean, yeah. I wouldn't be totally surprised if there was another, but I feel like it would have to be built upon. He was featured
pretty prominently in the Melee CG trailer.
Yeah, and I feel like it would have to be based on the belief that there's another. I feel like Hal would have to be under the impression that there's another F-Zero game coming out.
Which there isn't.
It's funny because all the rumored E3 leaks have an F-Zero title listed, almost all of them.
Yeah, I mean, unless the Star Fox thing was to throw them off the trail and really like it's a Star Fox / F-Zero game.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Or the Star Fox game doesn't actually exist, because I think that's more than likely the game that was actually canceled when they were talking about one game was having a rough development cycle. And let's be honest, like, would you be more tight-lipped about an active project or one that was canned? So, but yeah, no, Samurai Goro, that'd be cool.
If it wasn't Samurai Goro, I was gonna say Knuckles, but come on, you know they're not gonna put another third-party character, right?
Well,
right.
Even
but
if
they have to do it.
You would have to do Tails.
They have to do it
Shadow
just for the and Knuckles meme. But what about the and Knuckles meme?
And then it reveals
Think of-
Knuckles, and it's this Knuckles has found a way.
Oh no, no!
be
That's
amazing.
Ugandan Knuckles.
I know it just comes out as that's Knuckles' real thing.
trailer.
Knuckles has found a way.
Yo, Knuckles will
My brother's-
be Knuckles will be dope, bro. But I know that's not. That's why I said pipe dream.
Yeah, that one's definitely not happening. I think we can rule that one out.
Man, yeah, I was almost gonna say for Pipe Dream if it counted that they just scrapped regular Sonic and put the classic one in there.
Yeah,
'Cause I hate new Sonic and is like, look at my cool shoes, dude. Let's go grab a calzone.
but that's what like you and I had this conversation. I think like in Sega's eyes, that's what they intended for Sonic to be at some point. You know, like when they made the newer style of Sonic, that was just supposed to be.
Yeah, when Sonic went through puberty in Sonic Adventure. Yeah, I get it, but like in Mega Man and Pac-Man, they took their most iconic representations. They did because Pac-Man, from a marketing perspective, they might want to, pimp the TV show and the game where Pac-Man has a voice and it's the same
But I
voice
also
as
feel
Ash
like-
Ketchum.
But I feel like Pac-Man's so much less relevant and didn't continue to make the amount of games like, if you look at Sega,
I mean, comparatively,
there's
yes,
Sonic
but,
games,
but Pac-Man
like,
had a
every
game
year.
for the Wii U.
No, I know, but there's Sonic games like every single year. I mean, they make them like they're Mario games, and they all suck.
Yeah, I mean that's just because Sonic
hear
fans
the-
will buy anything.
Did you hear the whole explanation of why the new Sonic game's not on foot? They're like, guys, the reason we didn't make this on foot is because we all know that nobody'd be able to keep up with Sonic, and that just wouldn't make any sense. And I'm like, of course it would. It's a video game.
You guys
It doesn't
already,
have to be.
You guys already made that game.
Yeah, and on top of that, yeah, as well. And then there's all these Sega fans who are like, see, this makes sense, but all the Sonic fans just want to whine and complain. It's like, no, I think it's just that you have a franchise that could benefit from being the most unique racing game, and instead you'd rather make it like
to
Mario
just be
Kart.
something different. But no, they're like, let's make it dumb.
And who wants to
Let's
play
make it
that?
Mario Kart mixed with Gran Turismo.
I would rather
And there's
play-
a reason why there's no element of Gran Turismo inside of Mario Kart. We're like, look how sexy this car looks. Because that would just look dumb with a cartoon character
I think
driving
I
and say,
would-
sup, dude, let's go grab a calzone.
I'd rather play Mario Kart 64, which I actually think is putrid, than play this new Sonic racing game.
Yeah, it
But
looks
that's
terrible.
beside the point. But
And it's going to be
anyways,
terrible. I feel very safe saying that about Sonic games now. After calling Sonic Forces from like 18 miles away, like everybody else did, I'm with that crew now. We're just like, if it's Sonic, it's gonna suck.
Unless it's Sonic Mania.
Yeah,
or
which
Sonic,
Sega didn't make,
or Sonic Generations.
which was okay.
Oh, shut up! You love
It was
that
a
game.
great game, but it was literally like 15 minutes long.
Yeah, it does look really
I mean,
short.
Like, you take out the dumb challenges, you take out like all the stop gaps in between you getting to the end of that game. You could play every level in that game in probably, I mean, if you're slow, 30 minutes. And that's
Yeah.
the problem with every Sonic game, but this isn't a referendum on Sonic. That's for another time.
Okay.
So that was our pipeline characters, Pipe Dream, not
Yeah.
pipeline.
So I'd say that pretty much wraps it up, right?
Okay.
I mean, we got.
Yeah. Well, okay.
our-
So real quick, any stragglers that we didn't talk about from your end, Matthew?
Oh, well, I mean, I have a couple other characters that I think have a shot. For me, I think Kamek would be a really cool character. It gives you an opportunity to add another Yoshi character. He's a wizard, which would be like the only one of his
Wizard
kind.
Harry.
He'd be, I guess Robin would kind of fit in that category now, but aside from that, there's nobody else. Zelda, maybe, I guess. But I think he'd be awesome. And then the other character would be, who is Bandana D, which Michael hates, but I just think, there's no characters that use a spear. He's a Kirby character. He's really popular.
They'd both be interesting characters.
Plus,
but
it's just, like I said, they're running out of Nintendo characters, so I feel like that's somebody totally you could use as a Nintendo representative. So that'd be like the other couple guys I can think of. Other than that, I can't really think of too many additions that make sense, to be honest. People say like Medusa, like, sorry, but Kid Icarus really shouldn't have gone beyond Palutena, and even that's questionable. Like,
Yeah.
get rid of Dark Pit and don't add anybody else. Like, that is more than enough. Sorry, Kid Icarus fans, but give me a break.
yeah, I mean, there's a reason they canned the entire studio that made that game and then vowed to never make another one. or they just said that there wouldn't be a sequel. Yeah, I just feel like I have a bone to pick with Bandana D, that he's just he's like slapping a hat on a Goomba and calling it a character.
But that's
But he's wearing a hat and he has a spear, and he's been in like 3 Kirby games by now. But like at
he's
the same
actually
time,
been around for
you
a
know,
long time. He
the,
appeared in a really old
the Kirby game before Star Allies. He wasn't Bandana D. He was Waddle Dee with an umbrella, but he still played the same role. And I just feel like
That's not true.
That's absolutely true.
No, it's not. The Wii game. Return
Yes,
to
he was
Dreamland?
in another game. I'm talking about the game that came out before Star Allies, Battle Royale.
I thought you were saying that was the only time he was ever that character. I was like,
No, he's appeared in a couple games, but I mean, it's just he's like this filler character where it's like, well, we already have Meta Knight and King Dedede. Who do we add?
But I don't see what's wrong
Pantheon
with
of interesting Kirby characters. I would rather see Rick, Kine, and Koo in the game.
Who the hell is that?
Any of them. They're like they're a throwback to the Game Boy Kirby games. Rick's a big hamster.
Oh, I wouldn't be against that. I just think he makes the most sense. I mean, even in Star Allies, they refer to them as they're kind of like the 3 main dream characters. So I just
Well, then they added the other ones. I don't know. He would have a very interesting moveset. I will say that. If he is in the game, I want him to only have a hitbox at the tip of his spear. He'd be so hard to play.
I love, and it's funny that because I feel like you would actually play him. I feel like that he's totally up your alley, but
He'd be fun. He'd be fun, but I mean, it's the same thing. I love Tails. I loved Tails before they ruined him in Sonic Adventure. But I feel like I don't feel like he should be in Super Smash Bros.
Yeah, I don't know. Like I said, I mean, I just think he's pretty much a main staple of the series now. As far as like, you know, when you have 4 characters, it's Kirby, Dedede, Meta Knight, and D.
Yeah.
But yep, so that would be the only other guys that I can think of off the top of my head.
Do you want to bash trip Matthew too?
No, I'm gonna let him live, bro. I'm gonna let him live. Because I think mine is probably just as crazy. I think if I had to give 3 stragglers, it'll probably be, as far as somebody who actually kind of has a shot, I would say Waluigi. I know that may sound
Out.
I know it sounds ridiculous, but
what's funny though is he's really wanted. I mean,
that's what I'm saying.
He's
like,
pretty much like how I told you, King K. Rool is always the number 1. He's usually the number 2 or 3, which blows me away.
Yeah,
now
he's
you're
really worked
about,
his way up.
You're talking about characters being created out of irrelevance. I mean, Waluigi is he is the culmination of that. He is like, I mean, literally, like, so that Wario could have a tennis partner.
Yep.
I mean,
yep.
I don't think he'll be in, but everybody wants him,
I think
and he'd be really unique.
I think it's ridiculous enough for Nintendo to actually do it.
I don't know. He'd play like.
But then would he be? He wouldn't even be considered a Wario character.
He wouldn't. No.
But that's what would be weird is you have these guys and Waluigi and their Mario representatives, and then you have
Because
Wario.
Waluigi's not enough of a character to have even appeared in a Wario game.
Yeah, that's why I'm like, I don't think because he's never been in any mainline series Mario game, has he? I mean, not that I can think of.
No, not that I can think of. It's just Mario.
But I mean, he's been working hard. And
same thing with DK, but the difference is DK has his own games.
He's really stealing the show with Mario Tennis Aces. You know, and that slick back hair. I mean, he's really won it over with the fans. But that's where he belongs. He should be shining like a bright star in Mario Tennis because that's where he was
his
born.
origins, man. That's what he was meant to do.
And he'll be back as an assist trophy. He'll be stomping around going, wah!
He was meant to play tennis, play golf,
Smack you with that tennis racket,
and walk across giant game boards, and that's about it.
Yeah. Who else, Trevor?
Who else? I had somebody.
That
else
could be
in
his.
mind.
I mean, if he only has one.
I had someone else in mind, but I forgot, homie. I'm gonna be honest.
Straight up.
Yeah. So right now, I'm just gonna say Waluigi because he's ridiculous.
Do you want to defend your claim?
I think it's because Trevor's a Luigi main and he wants his the antithesis.
I really don't like Waluigi. I just think it's ridiculous.
No, that's what I'm saying. You want to beat him up.
I think he's ridiculous enough for like Sakurai to put him into the game.
He wants to show who's the best person who wears the L.
I listen. 2 words: Cloud Strife. Okay, that's why I think anybody is game at this point. That was, the fact that he was in Smash 4.
He was the representation of Square saying, "We're not doing business with you anymore, Nintendo."
Literally Final Fantasy, the middle finger to Nintendo.
Like straight up, man. And he was still in the game. That's why Sora, what's up, man? Listen, I don't know. He another one. That's a pipe dream. He might be in the game too, for all we know. I'm just saying.
That's another character that gets a lot of love, and people get so triggered when you act like Sora doesn't have a chance. They're like, it's really funny when you don't even realize half his games have been on Nintendo systems. It's like, yeah, but which of the games that mattered were on Nintendo systems? Yeah. Not Kingdom Hearts, not Kingdom Hearts 2, and sure as hell not Kingdom Hearts 3. So, you can keep your little card game playing Game Boy Advance Dream Drop.
Don't hate on my 358 over 2 days, bro. Listen, we exist, and I need you to acknowledge that, homie. All right?
They talk about that in the game, and I didn't realize that was a real Kingdom Hearts thing from watching that video on YouTube where Goofy dies and he's like, remember 358 over 2 days. And it's funny because nobody knows what that means. And that's the joke in that video. And then they explain in the game and I'm here like,
I'm still confused.
What does that mean?
Yeah,
I'm like Sora in that video, like, what does that mean, Goofy?
I don't know, man.
Tell me what it means.
Listen, all I know is we got a shot. So I'm going to need you to respect the gangster of Kingdom Hearts and let us live.
Yeah. Well.
No, so I'm gonna do something real interesting. I'm gonna take the role of the guy who runs the podcast, and I'm gonna ask a question now. So, if you had to cut off somebody from the game, who would it be?
Well, let me get through my other additions.
Oh, well,
first.
Let me shut up and be the guest and let you do your thing then.
Hold on, just real quick, wrapping up. I think that Cranky, Funky, and K. Rool could also get in the game. I think Dixie's a shoo-in.
Man, listen.
I think Dixie's a shoo-in.
I really think that low of K. Rool. I think he's above Cranky and Funky.
It's just him being a villain, him being a little more buried in the Donkey Kong lore, him not showing up very recently. I think that's the case. And you pick two of those guys, and I think you've got a well-balanced Donkey Kong roster. Maybe pick three. I think if we're having something like 8 Mario characters, there can be 6 Donkey Kong characters. That's all I gotta say. Also, I want to see someone from Nintendo's less celebrated legacy, someone like Harmonite from Game Freak's game, someone like Dylan's Rolling Western. I want to see someone like that really representing the downloadable titles.
Guys. Those could totally be characters.
Yeah, and Dylan made it in as an assist trophy. I think Harmonite was kind of weird timing, but he was a cool character who fights with a musical note. He holds it in waxy with it to the beat of a Pokemon song. It's cool. But yeah, that's the other guys that I feel. And honestly, through past that, I don't really know who you add from Nintendo games because there's just nobody left to add.
That's what I'm saying.
They'll get the Splatoon guys. They'll probably get someone from ARMS.
Well, and that's why I'm telling you, to me, K. Rool makes total sense only from the standpoint of the fact that he's insanely popular, but also there's so little options to choose from. That's mainly where it comes into play because you think they're probably going to want to add 10 to 15 characters, and those will probably be Nintendo guys. And I just think when you look at that, give me 10 to 15 guys that make sense that doesn't contain K. Rool or Ridley, and that's hard to do. It's hard to do.
You have to work hard to not have those on the list, which is something that, Zachariah seems to really do.
Yeah, so...
Yeah. Well, on to that whole cuts question.
Should we run through this pretty quick since we seem to be running long on time?
Yeah. We'll just all go through our cuts and then have a discussion.
Yeah, we'll try to keep it sweet and simple.
So who's on the chopping block,
fellas? Cuts. Okay, so going through the roster of Smash 4, Toon Link. You're out, little boy. Toon Link is such a misfit character in the game. Somehow they make the art styles of Street Fighter and Metal Gear Solid and old school Mega Man, Kirby, Mario, Metroid. They make all of that work. But Toon Link always stands out as just this ugly, weird looking thing, and he needs to go. Plus, they can replace him with Young Link.
Yeah, they totally could.
And now, Toon Link has even sort of lost his relevance in the series as, they they've gotten to places like A Link Between Worlds is a the regular Young Link. So it seems like they're kind of out of that phase. I hope they are, because it's a really simplistic art style that I'm just really done with. Past that, Palutena, you gotta go. Kid Icarus, he only needs the boy in there. You need to get out. You just terrible, bottom tier
Dark
character.
Pit, totally. I mean, if you only can cut one, then Dark Pit, of course. But I would get rid of her.
A stripper pole taunt, and I don't really. Yeah, she's a terrible character.
If Kid Icarus has more than one guy, then at that point F-Zero should have more than one guy. Like, give me a break.
Right, like he belongs like in the very last. I mean, I'd take Balloon Fight before I took a second Kid Icarus character. They're just dumb. Speaking of Fire Emblem, I think the roster stays at Marth, Ike, and Robin.
Right.
That's it. Cut everybody else.
What about
Robin?
Yeah, what about Roy? You don't want Roy in the game anymore?
Roy is such an insignificant Fire Emblem character that it's a shock that people wanted him back in. But it's really just because he appeared in Melee and people played him in Melee because he went, and he was fun to play. His game has never come out anywhere outside of Japan. So no one's even played his game. People just like him because they played him in Melee. And that's a dumb reason for a character to be in, is just because he was in the last one. Because the only reason he was in Melee was to promote the Binding Blade, which was the Fire Emblem game coming out at the time. And I just... I don't think Roy deserves to be in.
Yeah, I think Fire Emblem could totally be a franchise where you have Marth and one other guy. So Marth and Roy in Melee, Marth and Ike in Brawl.
Yeah, I feel like Ike stays because he's both unique and he is just immensely popular.
Boy. I'm just saying, so I get that, but I'm just saying, to me, it would have made more sense. You do Marth and Ike in Brawl, Marth and Robin in Smash 4, and then you could have done Marth in Corrin in Smash 5, but, yeah, they really got to get rid of, I would get rid of
Robin,
Lucina, Corrin, Roy. I would even get rid of Ike. I would just have it at Marth and Robin. I think that totally you get enough out of Fire Emblem. You can even keep Ike in there. I just don't think it's entirely necessary, but I'm fine with it.
I think, honestly, like Robin is the Marth is the beginning of Fire Emblem. Robin is the awakening, the rebirth of it. And then Ike is just like the fan favorite. I mean, Fire Emblem Heroes, the Fire Emblem game, has this like popularity poll every once in a while. Ike has won multiple times. I don't know why people like him so much. I don't really like him that much myself, but I feel like he's a unique enough character and just a fan favorite. I think he should stay in. Moving forward with some of that stuff, I would change Charizard into Pokemon Trainer, so that's kind of a cut, but I would reincorporate him back into Pokemon Trainer, and then just make it able to be like, if you just want to be Charizard, there's an option for that. I would cut Jigglypuff. Jigglypuff was not supposed to make it into Brawl. She barely made it in. That's why she wasn't included at all in the Subspace Emissary, and I think Greninja can stay as the representative for new Pokemon. I don't think they need a Pokemon from
Get rid of Lucario,
whatever new gen. I don't think they need Decidueye. Oh yeah, Lucario needs to go. I just forgot that he was even in the game because he's so insignificant
to me at this point. Yeah.
No dice, sir. Apart from that, I think that Dr. Mario, you gotta go, boy. Like we don't need two Marios in this game. What are you doing in here? Get out. Even as a clone, I feel like it waters down the roster. Even if it didn't take them any work at all to do, then get out. Dark Pit, no. Lucina, sayonara. Then apart from that, Corrin, get out, my boy. But that's it. That's all the cuts I would make.
Yeah, aside from that, I would also get rid of a couple other... I think you could trim the fat with some of those third-party characters, because I think guest stars, you don't really need to just keep them and include them. Like, for instance, Snake being in Brawl, I don't think Snake needs to come back. I mean, I look at kind of like Soul Calibur. Soul Calibur had Link in the second game. Then you look at... Or then they had Hayachi as well, and then Spawn. But then you get to 4, and it's Darth Vader and Yoda. You get to 5, it's the Assassin's Creed character. Those don't necessarily need to come back. Honestly, I think the only third-party character that really needs to stay is Sonic. And then I would say Pac-Man at this point, possibly Mega Man. I don't even think you need the other guys. Like, I would be on the fence with getting rid of those because I just think there's already too many of them at this point. I think
Sonic and Pac-Man should... Or Sonic, Pac-Man, and Mega Man should stay.
Yeah, and I'd be okay with that, but I think all those other guys, like Ryu, Cloud, Bayonetta... I don't even know if Bayonetta's third party at this point anymore, but I'm just saying I think those guys are totally Like I know they'll be back, but I just think that's one of those, like, because it gets so convoluted at some point that it's like, is this a celebration of Nintendo's history, or is this just a collection of gaming history? You know, and for me, I kind of like it being a Nintendo exclusive club for the most part. I don't really I just feel like it gets a little over the top, but so I'd include some of those guys. And Michael doesn't agree with me on either of these two, but I would get rid of Wii Fit Trainer as well, and I'd get rid of Mii's. And you know what's funny about the Mii's? I'm not alone on that. There's actually a ton of people that think they should be gone, because I just think it defeats the purpose of Smash too. You know, you're
But they fill the multi-man melee thing.
Oh, I get that.
They feel that so well.
I don't think they have to go, but if me personally, I would get rid of them just as, like, again, because I feel like it's more so the goal of getting down to a realistic character number where you're not going to end up with 100 characters. So I would also get rid of them, and then Wii Fit Trainer, we've had a discussion on that. I just don't really feel like Wii Fit is deserving of a representation in Smash personally, but you know, I just don't really feel like it's a real
They're the
game.
representation of the Wii era. And the only other, like, you know, tie-in you've got with that is Rosalina.
I think Mii's would be even a better choice than Wii Fit Trainer.
I think you need both. I think that, like, they really just heralded the casual generation of Nintendo, and while they may not be everybody's favorite part of Nintendo's history, they are an important piece of Nintendo's history. So I will vehemently defend those guys to the grave.
Yeah.
What about you, Trevor? What do you think? Was that the extent of your cuts?
Yeah.
So third parties, Wii guys, you just want to erase the Wii's history.
Yeah, well then all the other all the other guys you said too.
You already said Palutena, right?
Yeah. She needs to go.
I think y'all already said everybody.
Yeah,
honestly.
I don't think there's any other guys that really need to be cut. I think beyond that, all the other guys are pretty much locks.
Yeah.
Somebody said cut Meta Knight, and I'm like, that's stupid to me. That doesn't
Meta
make any
Knight's a
sense.
cool character.
Yeah.
He's like 6 inches tall and he has a sword.
Yeah.
I mean, just by proxy of that, he's. I mean, you could cut like 16, teenager sword anime guys before you cut him, but
I guess that pretty much.
The one caveat I would leave with all this is that the way that they made Smash 4 was that they ported Brawl over to the game and then they worked on it as a base from there. What they're going to do for this Smash is probably a similar thing. Port the Wii U game and then work on it from there.
Well, no,
so I feel like everybody's going to
the
come back.
Bandai Namco person who tweeted that thing out about working on the engine, apparently I thought was coming from a standpoint of saying it's a new engine for the game. So I don't know that that's necessarily true, but
right. Well, just like the Wii U one was a new engine, but where they started with before they got Sakurai onto the project was they ported Brawl over to just have like a base to work on. So I have a feeling that everybody's coming back. All that being said, but we will see what happens. We are just a day away. So join us for our reactions later on.
This is the appetizer to hold you over.
Yeah. But yeah, leave in the comments who you think is getting in, who you think is getting cut out. And I'll see you after E3. I'll see you then.
Thanks for joining us.
It's been real.